Um, Thank you everyone for coming. Friday evening, I was told it's the best day to have an event because nobody wants to come out on a Saturday. So it's the first time we are doing this in 11 years. And I think we are remiss in not being able to do it because as much as we write about some of our portfolio companies, what these people represent cannot come out just from the perspective of a financial analyst, right? Now, both these fine gentlemen here, they are complete rock stars. It's an appropriate stage for them as a backdrop. I'm an engineer myself, but as my wife keeps reminding me, I couldn't repair a toaster to save my life, right? So there is a little bit of an awe around engineer entrepreneurs whom we've invested in, right? So both these companies have very remarkable stories, right? So I'll start with Mr. Gursharan Singh. He's the chairman and managing director of RACL Geartech. That's a precision machining company. A little bit of rocket science, but essentially they make parts which go into very high-end vehicles which are very, very high tolerances. And his is quite a fascinating story. He was plant manager at a company called Ronak Auto Components. That company went into bankruptcy in 2001. He orchestrated the turnaround. The company got out of BIFR in 2007. And their story reminds me of this metaphor of the Chinese bamboo tree, which for 4 years you put seed in it and nothing seems to happen. And in the 5th year, suddenly the tree grows 90 feet in 6 weeks, right? So they got the company out of BIFR, and on a flight, they met this Japanese company, Kubota, and Kubota gave them a few orders, and they just bunkered down in the first few years saying, we don't want to grow very rapidly. We just want to fix quality to make sure that we never disappoint a customer. And those were early days, but in the last 10 years, their company has grown profits at 35%. And I think they are very, very well positioned to grow in the future. To my left is Dr. Harin. Dr. Harin's family story is also fairly incredible. His father's old. He couldn't be with us today. But his father was known as the bromine man of India. So his father actually first pioneered extracting bromine from seawater in the 70s. And because of a flash flood, the factory got completely destroyed. This is in the 70s. And in the 70s, I think it was easy to walk away from a bad loan because of a disaster. Those were the times. Well, you could still do it in India up to 15 years ago, but you could imagine what it was in those days. But his father took up a job, repaid all the debts, and then restarted the company in 1980s. I might have my dates a little bit wrong, right? And from very, very basic bromine compounds, I believe they moved into lithium. Now they are the pioneers of battery chemicals in India. So the EVs that we are going to be driving will, on all probability, 80% of the EVs on Indian roads will have electrolytes which are going to be manufactured by Neogen chemicals. So their company has grown profits in the last 10 years at 25%, right? So very, very fascinating stories for very young companies. RACL this year, we don't know the numbers yet, anything between 425 crore revenue. Neogen maybe about 800 crore revenue. But very, very long runway of growth. So when we emphasize in our communication that we want to buy companies with an ownership mindset, these are the kind of promoters that we want to back. So we're going to spend some time just trying to understand their story from their own words rather than what Solidarity has been representing to you, right? So I'll start with you, sir, first. That you were 35 years old, I think, when the company went into bankruptcy. And I'm told, my facts may be a little bit off, but I'm told that in order to turn around the company, you had to take sizable amount of debt on your, or guarantee it on your own personal name. And this is maybe around 2000, 2001. I guess we are all middle class people. What gave you the courage to take such a bold step? And based on that experience of yours, how, how does that how does that translate into the way you think about risk and reward and capital investment that you put into the ground in your company today?
Thank you, Manish. First of all, you told us we're the rock stars. No, you are rocking and we're the stars. And at first, my congratulations to you and entire Solidarity team for completing 11 years of successful, because that's the event. In fact, probably you kept a secret or Prab kept secret. I don't know. He told me when I was in the gate. Otherwise, I would have.
So I'll tell you the real secret I've kept, sir,
Yes,
which I learned
yeah.
from my favorite boss who's in the crowd, Dr. Janmajay Sinha. It was about work-life balance. He says, you work, I have a life, together we create balance. So
balance
I've practiced that at Solidarity very well.
I will add, balance is with the wives. Anyway, but Manish, I really, first of all, admire the way you have you remember all even the micro things. But you started the question how you really took this debt on your head. I will just narrate you a story. You know, first of all, I'm basically a Sikh gentleman, so you really understand that from birth or from our DNA, we always are risk takers, okay? And that is maybe it's in the blood, so I'll say. But as Manish rightly said, this company really went bankrupt in 2001. So I will not name the owners or the promoters, but okay, this company went bankrupt. Promoters were not really interested to revive this company, but this was a kind of joint venture between government of UP and some private promoters. And for them, it was good that they made their enough. They said, let this close down. But you know, as Manish said, I was plant manager of the company. And when I joined, I was only just 26 years, and I worked 10 years, 15 years, and after that, I find that company goes bankrupt, and it really goes on your head. So I really felt it, look, I should do something. So that was the first thing which really created a kick in my mind. Eventually, thank God and thanks to the banks, the rehabilitation journey was approved by BFR. A stage came, there was a total debt of 55 crores. And a restructured debt was 12 crores. My lawyer was top lawyer of Delhi High Court. He says, Mr. Singh, you take this 12 crores of debt on your head and remaining 43 crores debt on the old promoter, because it's a restructured thing. So if I pay, so I get clear, and 43 crores those promoters will bear. I said, look, Alok, put entire 55 crores on my head. He says, Mr. Singh, have you gone mad? You can take only 12 crores on you, 43 crores, let the old promoters take it, and we'll revive the company. I told, look, Alok, neither I have 12 crores, nor I'm going to have 55 crores. So I will go to jail even for, if I default on 12 crores, I will take default even I don't do it on 55 crores. And you know, within 30 minutes, Debt Recovery Tribunal signed off the paper. Then I told Alok, look, Alok, if that 43 crore was always on the old promoter's head, they will not allow me to revive this company. Now I am sleeping with peaceful mind. I have only one goal in my mind, I have to revive this company and make it grow. And rest is the history. You really remember the numbers. Precisely 2007, we came out of BFR. And on this forum, I am really very glad to announce that we are only company in the entire history of BFR who revived without any external support. Because otherwise, wherever the companies go to BFR, either some promoters come, some funds come, and some banks pay money. We did not borrow even a single penny from any of the banks just to repay. And I was, as Manish rightly said, I was from a lower middle class family. So I had no family fortunes to reinvest. We had only one thing to us, that okay, we earn and go on and go same way. So this is how the first of all, to answer you, I personally feel if man has a conviction and then man has a really a patience and perseverance to convert your conviction to reality. End of the day, even stars also will help you. As Manish rightly remembers, it is reality. When a company goes bankrupt, who will give you business? Okay. And this was a real problem. And it was my luck, or maybe my stars, or maybe destiny was willing to help me. I was traveling from Pune to Delhi. The fellow sitting beside my seat was a Japanese. We just exchanged cards, and that's it. And after 1 or 2 months, 3 months, that gentleman came to my office. Okay, look, Mr. Singh, last time I went and I came to India, and in fact, the assignment is we are willing to look out sourcing from India. So can you really help me to find out an office, first of all? Because he didn't know anything in anybody in India. And since we were having our office in Nehru Place, so I just got in my office in just front of me. And from there, he just gave me 2 components. Okay? So you say, you kindly quote it. Imagine, we were a sick company, although our scheme was approved by BFR, we were still under BFR. And we got order from Japan. And again, I'm proud to say, again, destiny plays a very, very big role sometimes in making the person. We are the first company in entire India who could successfully initiate export of gears to Japan. And not today, in year 2005. Because, today India is a different world. 20 years back, maybe people of my age will really understand it. No. India ko to log samjhte it is a snake charmers and elephants country. So, आप इमेजिन करिए उस समय हीरो होंडा और ऑल दोस मोटरसाइकिल मेकर्स मारुति सुजुकी दे वर ऑल जापानीज कंपनीज established in India, but India was just tightening only nuts and bolts or some non-critical components, but exporting components to Japan. So this was a real foundation which really it helped, destiny helped me to create this. And Manish, you remember my words. In fact, I told these words to him some time back. There was a Japanese guy who eventually made, I got a very, very good friendship with him. He told Mr. Singh, I will tell you because I asked him how Japanese companies have become so successful, so established, well established. He says, difference between Indian companies and Japanese companies is, Indian companies, they first seed the small stone and they suddenly want to grow at a reverse pyramid. Their initial growth will be very, very fast, and at some stage it will collapse. He says if you really want to grow, make it a pyramid, a wide base, and build the base as wide as you can, so that then you keep on building your pyramid over that. He says it will be painstaking, it will be slow, but when the growth will happen, then growth will be sustainable. And I am really proud to say that after 10 years, 15 years of journey, now for last 4-5 years, we have really turned around in a way that we are one of the largest exporter of gear components to all the developed economies of the world.
So you're answering all my questions before I've asked them.
Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Harin,
Please.
can you talk a little bit about, you must have been very young when the incident happened to your family. But can you talk a little bit about that? And I also want you to answer a question that, about 10 days ago, I visited a plant in Punjab. I went to Ludhiana to visit a plant. And obviously, all of us financial analysts right now are a bit jittery with this new world of unpredictability with Trump. And the plant we visited had a gross block of about 800 crores. And the promoter was embarking on a capex of 600 crores. And, obviously, all of us on this side of the table was wondering, there's a big storm coming, and he was the calmest guy in the room, right? Now, when I take the analogy of your company, right, you are an 800 crore company, and you are embarking on a 1300 crore, you are in the midst of a 1300 crore program, where essentially, I don't want to say betting the company, but it's a very bold bet into the future of electric vehicles. So, I was talking to a friend of mine, and I said, I've got a little bit of home loan debt, and that, from a middle class background, it gives you a little bit of those. It should not, right? If you're not living in your home, you'll be paying rent. But given the fact that your family's gone through something like this, what gives you the courage? How do you guys sleep well at night when you are embarking and taking such a big leap into the unknown?
Okay, so again, first of all, thank you for having and being a very nice friend over the years we've known. I think first question you asked me, how did I feel? I mean, really, I was very, very young, 3 years old, so I don't remember it. But yeah, I mean, like, see, one thing which my parents did was whatever they went through, like, we as kids were insulated. We always had a very happy home. And I think, as everybody says, you really don't require too much money to be happy. In fact, that's something which, as Sir also said, like, it's something where what you need is very little. So therefore, you're not so worried that, worst case scenario, what can happen, right? I mean, as he might have said, worst case scenario, if it doesn't work, I'll go work somewhere and I'll still have enough to, run and do whatever I want. So I think as long as you have the strong family, whether it was when my parents were doing that or now with me and my wife, I mean, as long as we know we are together, kids are there, we love each other, I think so then you're really not that worried. That's just, and I think growing up we saw very little money, but we were happy. And I think that's really good because that allowed us to be very rooted, not have very high expectations or demands. I think the second question you asked, having gone through that, like, how do you take risk like that? To some extent, having gone through that, it's easy to take a risk like this because, you came out okay. You know that as long as you believe in what you are doing, as long as, so even now when we are thinking of batteries, okay, so we have a plan A, plan B, plan C. So if this doesn't work, then this will happen. If this doesn't work, this will happen. As long as, like, we are convinced that the need is going to be there. And most of the stuff, like, as Sir said, you make a very good pyramid and base in your pyramid. We also, like, always go to adjacency. So whenever we are doing something new, either we know the business very well or the customer very well, or we know the chemistry that we are doing very well. So you know that, you are the best person to do it. If anybody can do it, it's you. So then, you are a little bit more comfortable taking the risk. And always, at least for me, whatever we are doing, there's a plan A, plan B, plan C, run many scenarios. So it goes, okay, worst case, if this happens, then this, then this. Another thing which my dad did, and most of the time it's true, that, we say, okay, what's the worst which can happen? Let's say whatever new that you are doing will give you 0. Then will your existing be good enough for you to repay, like, take care of the responsibilities that you have? So the worst which will happen is you'll not grow. But as long as you can sustain, so maybe there's a 1 bad year, 2 bad year, you can sustain that. So I think ultimately, so I had a chance to work in DuPont, and in chemical there are many companies like BASF, DuPont, which like goes on for centuries. I mean, even now they've gone on for centuries. And I think one of the theme which I've seen is that they are always ready to do something new. And, most important part is you have to be able to sustain the most difficult time. So as long as in my calculations, with a plan A, plan B, plan C, we can sustain, then, I'm ready to take the risk.
Okay, so just as a follow-up question over here, now I'll request you not to be very modest, but you are a, relatively speaking, you're a young company, right? But yet, you have the best partnerships in lithium sourcing. Mitsubishi, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is you're the only company that Mitsubishi has licensed its electrolyte technology to in the whole world, right?
Yes.
So Neogen will be one amongst, if our research is right, one amongst 5 companies in the world outside China who has access to electrolyte technology, and you can export salts if anybody wants a non-China source, right? So I'll request you not to be modest, but what does Mitsubishi see in Neogen that they will partner with Neogen and not with some more established, larger, more stable, stronger balance sheet company?
Okay, so so again, although you call us a young company, but we've been doing lithium for last 40 years. And I think that was one of the strong points that, we've done lithium for 40 years. And I think when we were discussing with Mitsubishi, it really helped that, we started early. So while we started talking to Mitsubishi in 2020, we started thinking about batteries in 2017. And when 2020 we started talking to Mitsubishi, we were almost 80-90% ready. In fact, the way it happened is that when we were going to the customers in India, actually we had thought of this before the Indian customers had thought they're going to need it. So when we went to the customers, they were first happy that this is available in India. And again, we chose electrolytes because we know this had to be made locally. So there were two parts of it. I mean, as a business, you can say, oh, because this is local, I'll have less competition. There's also sense of duty that if we'll not do it, then who will? And without this, will India be able to make batteries? So people will really get stuck. So in a way, this is a real problem which somebody has to solve it. And with our 40 years of experience in lithium, if we will not, then who will? So when we went to Mitsubishi, we had already done 80-90% of the work. And only thing the customers were saying, Harin, you are doing this, a very critical component of the battery for the first time. I know you are doing it in the lab, but can I trust you to do at a large scale? And when we were also going to make a very large investment, we were a little bit worried. Hey, what if we mix up something or make a mistake? It's going to be huge. The opposite thing was happening to Mitsubishi. That Mitsubishi being the oldest guy, when the customers were going to them and asking them, hey, who are you going to partner with? Because this has to be made locally. So I think what worked in our favor was that our customers says, hey, why don't you think of Neogen? He's already there. Sorry. And the second thing was that even in 30 years, what Mitsubishi had not done is backward integrate into making the lithium salts themselves. So they also saw that we were already ready with the salts, and not only the salts. So we start from what comes out of mine, which we've been doing for last 40 years, and go all the way up to electrolyte. So that's something even which they didn't have. So I think it was a combination of that. And then of course we had one secret rock star for Japan, Mr. Anurag Surana. So whenever we were interacting with him, there are very few people who know Japan so well. So that's something also which gave a lot of comfort.
So I must thank Mr. Surana, because Mr. Surana introduced me to you in 2015.
Yes.
And I'm very grateful that you didn't take my advice in 2015 of raising private equity, because that allowed us to invest in your company when you IPO'd.
Which was also ultimately his advice.
Okay, so moving on to you, sir, that what I find truly remarkable for RACL is that for a 400 crore revenue company, BMW has chosen to partner with you as an exclusive supplier for a part that will go into its electric vehicle. How does a German, blue-blooded German OEM, which will perhaps have the highest standards of engineering, how do they get the confidence to trust a vendor across India where any delay for any reason, even beyond your control, can just stall their line? And if I can ask a broader question, sir, that if you can answer this question, but also tell us, the first reaction, obviously, when you see what's happening with Trump, it immediately reflects in stock price volatility, right? Now, stock price volatility is not risk. But in the short term, the two are indistinguishable, right? So people tend to panic, right? But what I've observed is that the promoters are not panicking, right? It's the minority shareholders, the financial analysts who are kind of panicking, not the promoters. So can you give us flavor, because you travel a lot to Europe, of how in one of your conference calls you made this point that it was unthinkable 15 years ago for Europe to source gears from India. So are we seeing a big tsunami, a structural shift, which is giving opportunities to companies like yours that have done all the hard work?
I'll answer you. First of all, I'll take you what my colleague has told. Whether it's a Mitsubishi or it's a Mercedes or BMW or any, you name any companies. You know what they are looking for? The partners or the companies who understand the product, who understand the requirement, and on top of it, who are sustainable. Because in today's world, you know, you all are from the investor fraternity. Any investor, what you're looking at, a consistent, sustainable company. Okay. Same goes with all these big brands. Like you narrated the case of BMW. Yes, you're right. It's now in a public domain that we have been awarded a very big contract by BMW for their upcoming electric sports cars. This is a first sports car, which is electric sports car, which is going to come in the world, because so far you get only sedans or the commuting cars, but not the sports cars. And definitely those parts are very, very safety critical components and all that stuff. But, you know, this confidence or trust doesn't happen by our face or our by hearsay. It is our performance, our company's performance for last 10, 15 years, 20 years. Because like my colleague has told, if Mitsubishi has parted them the technology, so the reason is they were in lithium for last 40 years. So in 40 years back, nobody was knowing EV, but lithium they were knowing. So probably Mitsubishi might have thought that they are the company who is dependable, whom they can really part their technology and they will not really commit any kind of hanky-dory things for this. Same happened with us also, because we, over a period of time, because as I was telling you, our first business was from Japan. And if anybody out of you has any access to a Japanese company, they have a very, very slow system of building the trust. Okay, because it's very, very painful, because a Japanese company will not build trust within 1 week, 1 month, 1 year. It may even be 1 decade. Okay, because this is their way of working and you can't change it. I will tell you, even in our case, we got 2 components. For first 3 years, we were supplying only 224 parts per month. That's it. And today, it's a different thing that we are producing 130 different part varieties and supplying all across the world. So this eventually, whether it's a BMW or any other customers, they know that this is the company who is working successfully with a Japanese company from day one from 2005 until now. So eventually this builds over a period of time. So this confidence actually comes only by your continued performance. Believe me, in our 20 years of our operation, no customer of RACL has ever left us. Ever. And we have a customer with whom we do only, say, 1 crore of business per year. And there is a customer we do business of 50 crores per year. But in RACL, whether it's our lowest category worker or the top management, both customers will get same level of seriousness. Because that actually builds, because then, you know, this all big companies, whether it's a BMW, Mercedes, Mitsubishi, anything, they have a very, very strong diligence systems. Because they are the companies, they are global companies. So this is how it really works. Now to answer your question on this volatility of these geopolitical things, since we are from automotive, so I am giving my automotive perspective. Why? Because if you are telling that Ludhiana thing, so I can imagine you might have visited home. But why he was not having any stress, or same why we are not having stress. Reason is that any product, if any customer has to think of building from scratch or resourcing, minimum gestation is 2 years and it will stretch up to 3 years. Okay. I'm not making any political statement, but even if Trump decides that yes, all parts have to be sourced from USA, he has to wait for 3 years. And in 3 years, his car industry will bog down. So eventually, we are not really bothered because we know these may be some of his compulsions, some of his mathematics that only he knows and his commerce department knows it. But we automotive manufacturers are knowing very clearly that this resourcing or relocation and all those things is not that easy. Okay, so and that's the reason we are also going ahead with our expansion plans in a routine manner, and same is all others will also be doing it. Because we can understand concerns from the investor fraternity because you see the stock going up, the blood pressure goes up, stock goes down, even stock goes down, even then blood pressure goes up, okay? So blood pressure never goes down. But we are manufacturing companies, we know that even if a customer is really wanting to drop us, he has to wait 3 years. Same is with those countries also. Because, I'm sitting here for last 3 days, we got big visits from American companies visiting us. Okay? And they are exploring. Because I tell you, I'm not again making any political statement. This is my own personal opinion. Out of this whole rigmarole, I personally feel Indian companies will get benefited. Because only yesterday I saw some news item that Panipat has got some bulk textile orders for 5,000 crores from some American companies for those textile business, and I don't know how far it is true or false, but it was a news item. So eventually, probably this China thing coming and Indian manufacturing really takes up this opportunity. Rather, it will be a good.
Dr. Harin, you want to add something from your perspective?
No, so actually listening to this, there are like just so many similarities in the way we think and the way things work. Again, just to account for his experience, my dad had once an experience in early days when we were exporting. There was a product which a US company wanted. And he said, can you send sample and hazardous sample and all that? And my dad casually mentioned, oh, we already supplied this to Japan. Oh, you supplied to Japan? You can send a container. It's because, you basically work with very demanding clients. And I think the other thing about like the way what he was saying is that, you basically over a period of time build capabilities. And like just as, as a kid, we learn something to do a simple math problem in first standard, and over 12, 15 years, we can do very complex calculus. So similarly, I think an organization also goes through that. If you are a learning organization, you build capabilities, and then you know that it was so hard for you. So nobody can just tomorrow just suddenly come and learn it in a day.
Can I ask you a pointed question there, sir?
Yes.
And please don't be modest, because we're trying to get this is a closed discussion.
Manish is getting frustrated.
I'm not getting frustrated. I'm not hearing what I want to hear.
That's why you are getting frustrated.
So what I want to ask you, sir, is that the competencies that you've developed, how many years are you ahead of your competition? Please don't be modest.
So, depends on the way you look at it. So there are some things which we've done for 40 years. There are some things which we've done for 20 years. And again, going by the same concept that we always like to do that, okay, we did something. Now let's do a little bit more tougher, then more tougher. So we're always building on that and trying to take on more and more complex problems. So I think, therefore, if somebody just starts from scratch, I would say like decades. But like, if you just want it.
Before you say anything else, I think I should move on. So similar question. One of the comments that you mention in your calls is that what is different about you is that RACL has a lot of technologies under one roof, right? So again, a question, you're a 400 crore company. A lot of your peers are much larger. Why is it that they don't have these technologies? And two, if, for example, they were to put their balance sheet to work and they get these technologies, what is the soft learning curve that they would have to conquer to reach your level of skill sets?
I'll answer you in a very, very straight thing. First of all, many times people take decisions only by brain. Sometimes decision has to be taken by heart also. Because if you keep on analyzing, then you will end up doing nothing. I was reading book the other day, it was written, he says, too much of analysis leads to paralysis. So this is a reality. So many manufacturing companies, particularly with the Indian context, because this is a real, maybe a mindset or whatever you may say, or a business strategy, we are generally conservative in making bold decisions, particularly making big investments. We in our company, maybe it's again DNA or the blood or the risk-taking mindset, we always say that, look, until you do something which others are not having, people will not come at your door. Believe me, we have never marketed ourselves. Our customers come directly to us. Okay. Reason? Because it is today's internet age. Everybody knows who is doing what. And eventually, we made those decisions that, okay, look, a German buyer or American buyer or a Japanese buyer, if he comes to India, until he gets everything under one roof, he will not really give chance to you. If I really say why Chinese companies are so successful, because I have really learned a lot by traveling overseas to Japan, to China, to Europe, and I really made one learning that, look, if in today's context, if one has to really grow, one has to grow only with the advanced technologies and do the integration as much as possible. But do in a systemic way, because it's very clear that money doesn't grow on trees. Okay, once you take a wrong decision, then you're gone. So like on one side, we always invest a lot on new technologies, but the other side, we are never invested even a penny until there is a business lineup. If customer comes to me, look, we need this, and he loads my technology even by 20%, I'll take that decision. Okay, because they were 20% I get immediately by loading the technology, and I have remaining 80% capacity. That 80% I can offer to others. And this is how over a period of time we developed it. Of course, it always puts a lot of difficulties and challenges to us, but coming back to the numbers, what Manish always says, that we are maintaining those margins and all such. This happens only because all our customers, at least in automotive perspective, they do not mind paying you extra price. They do not mind. What they are minding, what they need, if he can get a solution under one roof, his first requirement, and 100% sustainable quality and delivery and all such performances, then he doesn't mind paying extra. Definitely. My son is also here, so he always says to the world that we are an expensive company. We are not selling low-cost product to our customers. We admit we sell high cost, but then we provide solutions under one roof. So this is how, over a period of time, we have been able to develop this. Yeah.
Okay, I have one last question, but if anyone in the audience wants to ask something, yeah, Abhishek, go ahead.
Thanks, Manish, for getting fabulous stories. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Unlike, I'm actually a consultant, so I did a lot of analysis and sometimes paralysis. I guess a counter question, right? My only question is, are we thinking too small? So for you, right? BMW, I don't know, maybe somebody can Google $150, $180 billion company. We billion, right? They buy $100 billion of parts. 100 billion. I don't know how much revenue you, 10 million, 20 million, right? It's out of $100 billion of parts. Remarkable progress to get to 20, 30 million, whatever you supply. And same with Mitsubishi, right? Chemicals. Are we thinking, and I know you are new companies, early days, do we need to, and you spoke about...
Just factually, Abhishek, great question, but I just want to remind you that the gentleman on the left has grown profits at 35% last decade. Gentleman here, 25% last decade.
A small base, Manish, you and I can argue separate. I'm just thinking, should we up our aspirations to be really, really significant and large while maintaining profits, right? So
I could not get your name. Abhishek, yes. Abhishek, I'll answer you in a very, very clear way. First of all, when I'm again discussing my business, which is auto components, and that too, auto components of the high segment, because if you understand, we make all gears and literally technologies of that. Even hair is too thick for us. We think only 1/100th part of a hair. That is our tolerance of working. So it is painful to scale up in a big way. But again, as we always say, the first you have to build your pyramid as wide as possible. And then eventually the scale of growth will happen. Because I tell you, when I took over my company in 2002, it was doing only 15 crores of revenue. From 15 crores revenue to build to 100 crore revenues, it took almost 7 years. From 100 crores to making 200 crores, it took another 6 years. Okay? But from 200 to 400 crores, it has taken only 4 years. Now the algorithm will really start working. Definitely what you're saying is very right. World is really looking at India in a big way. It's not only BMW, entire world is looking at India. Manufacturing in coming times, in my opinion, is going to be a big horizon is there for Indian companies to work. So definitely all have to really tap this opportunity. But I always say that one should always work with conviction. But one should not bite what cannot chew. Okay, that's very clear. Because I tell you, it is aspirations to grow should always be there. But one should always say in this growth journey, one has to really see that am I sustainable? Like my colleague was telling, plan A, plan B, plan C. Things backfire also. In investor fraternity, market goes down, okay, I sell this share and I still are maintaining to maintain my average. But in manufacturing, it doesn't work. If you invest and your product fails or your customer doesn't pick up, you're gone. So you have to be very, very judicious. But yes, aspirations should be there, and coming times are really going to be very, very challenging. My succession, in fact, my son is also here now. He's stepped into my shoes. So we have created a great canvas, and now, because we are towards our second inning or the second last inning, but his inning is started. So we have much bigger aspirations to grow, and definitely in coming times.
So you're only 63, sir.
I said second last inning here.
Okay, any other? Yeah, please go ahead, back of the room.
Sir, I'm also an entrepreneur, and I don't know much about technology or businesses, but I just want to ask you 2 questions. My first question is that you both of you had your inflection points and you pivoted towards a trajectory, which is where you are today. Trajectory of growth, profits, trajectory of growth, profits, where you are today in terms of revenues, etc., etc. That's what Manish he's a great friend. So when you pivoted, or when that inflection point was, if I was to go back in time, at that point in the timeline, the risk you took, had it not played out, then what would have been the consequence? That is my question number one. My question number two is that wherever you are today, we all believe that success is a function of skill and luck. But I'm adding a third component to it, which is within luck, there is luck, and then there is unintended consequence. So for example, when people tell me that Sensex has gone from here to here and we made 15% returns, why would anybody take equity risk when interest rate in the 90s were ranging from 12 to 18%, right? So the skill component, the luck component. So nobody knew, that India will have reforms, George Fernandez would come, foreign direct investments would come, we'll open up, etc., 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 which happened in the PV Narasimha Rao will come, etc., etc., etc. We didn't know that. But we take that number of 100 from the 80, which in itself is a concocted number, and we look at 83,000, 78,000, wherever it is today. But did we know at that point in time that in 93, 94, 95 this will happen? So within the luck part, wherever you are, so there is skill, obviously, sir, which is there, which is visible. Then there is luck. And within luck, how much of it is unintended consequence?
I'll answer you, sir. You said skill and luck. There is one third thing, which
Sir, two questions. First is, you had taken that risk. Had that risk played out for the negative, then what would be the consequence? And then the second question.
I'm answering in a way, it will answer both your questions. When you say skill and luck, there is one third thing which we all have within our own brains, within our own minds. That is a kick. You said that in early 90s, interest rates were 12%, 18%. Why one will invest in the stock market? But it is a testimony that if everybody would have really thought, यार के batteries यार के बैंक में डालो, तो आज शायद NSE तो होता ही नहीं, खाली BSE रह जाता. This is the kick which gives you, because by default or by nature, human always wants to take some risk, take some decisions, because if you invest in a bank, so technically you are just putting money, that's it. But if you invest in stock market, every day morning, you wake up, you have a passion in you, oh yaar guys, market mein kya hone wala? Okay. So it gives you, first of all, a lot of thought process, lot of insight, and then it's a chain reaction starts. So that also is very, very important. Now coming back to the consequence which you asked, it's very clear that if you take a risk, there is always a failure side also. Okay, that's very clear. Now I will answer in my case. I took the risk, and as I narrated you, yes, I had taken all the debt on my head. So first of all, I decided I have not to fail. Okay. First of all, if we decide we are not to fail, I personally feel there is no power in this world who will really make you fail. Okay, except some exceptions. Otherwise, if you have a conviction, if you have a patience, you will get success. This is my story, because in my 20 years or maybe now 22 years of active this revival, survival and growth journey, there was many situations when we find now road is blocked and there is a total darkness, but still there was a ray of hope, and from there we came out. So definitely, and this is a message from my side to all of you, because one should not worry for the consequences, because until, I tell you, if you really take the consequences always as a decisive thing, then you will not be able to take a decision. Because my style of working is, you plan the things, you will never die. Thinking you never die. And you execute, it is our last day. Only then the things work. Because if we really work with patience, there is no reason we should fail until we have a very, very clear, because हम अपनी हिंदी में बोलता हूँ कि नियति और नियत. Destiny is of course playing a big role, but your own mind, your thought, because I tell you, I personally feel money is important. We all need money. But I personally feel one doesn't work only for money. Because money should be the byproduct. Money, because I tell you, if you work, money will come automatically. Many times, I'm saying in the manufacturing or our industry segment, we should always work that, okay, yaar, we have to really perform. मनी तो यार एक आएगा, कहाँ जाएगा? जब आप अच्छे तरीके से काम करोगे, earnings will come. So too much of worrying for consequence should not be there. But one should always have a plan B, plan C. One should always keep a safe, एक safety factor तो होना चाहिए. Because it's not that we straight go and bang our head in front of train. Definitely, nobody is going to save us. But eventually, one has to really draw a very clear guideline, a line, until which I have to take the risk. Until then, I drop it. Because one thing is clear: we should not be emotional also. Too much of emotion, in, like even in your stock market also. Because sometimes I keep hearing from friends like Manish that we never love the stock. They say if stock is not performing, you say no, isko rakho yaar. कहता यार okay नहीं perform कर इसको उठा के फेंको. So same way in the so Manish keeps on giving some tips here.
Okay, so guys, we've got a more exciting
Sir,
part of the
stock तो
evening
मनीष ही
ahead.
देख, हम तो stock देखते नहीं हैं.
Okay, so I want to take any last question from the audience.
So, Manish, sorry, if I can just.
Yeah.
So I think for both the questions, I think one thing which I want to say is, basically you have to decide what are you optimizing for. Like he said, 10 billion, 100 billion. See, I think as an entrepreneur, what we are enterprising is like making a business which will survive for decades, centuries. So I think if that's your optimizing function, then as long as you survive, you have a way to survive, then you will always have a period where you feel, oh, you've been lucky, you were at the right time, at the right thing. Like you said, you can't predict those things. But I think if that is what you are building for, like he said, we are not basically there to make money tomorrow, but build an organization which stays. And again, I think when we were taking risks, the plan A, plan B, or the amount of risk that we take, that is the optimizing function we are working with. Like, that okay, the risk would not have worked. What will worst case happen? Like I said earlier, few years will not grow, but will still survive. So I think if you are doing that, and again to answer your question about putting the money in the bank or a stock market, I can't control who the bank lends to. I can't control Trump, but I can control the capabilities which my organization is building, which is what can give me confidence that the money once I put in is going to basically survive. So I think, sorry.
Excellent point. So I'm just going to summarize in the last letter that we sent out. We had made a point that almost half of our portfolio is in Indian manufacturing, right? I think the moment is ripe for Indian manufacturing. I think it is where Indian IT was in 2000. You will see that the market always gets very excited about financials. Financials are low terminal value businesses, right? Because financial guys optimizing for short-term P&L. As you've heard these two gentlemen, these businesses have a lot of longevity. And the stock market does not know how to price longevity well, right? So this was very enlightening discussion. I learned something new, as always. Thank you. So you have a question? Oh. As long as you don't put it on Twitter, that's fine.
I already put it on Twitter, so it doesn't matter. Someone else can tweet. But I have one criticism about both you guys. And that's fine. Someone was saying, is there anyone you haven't criticized? And I don't think that's true. My criticism, anyone doesn't know me here, that's pretty sad. That's not my problem. So my criticism is that the trouble is that everything we read in the media is all about the flashy success stories. The guys who make $1 billion in 5 years, 10 years, doing all that stuff. And the reason it bothers me is you guys have put in decades of hard work. Obviously, there's success. Obviously, there's luck, there's skill, all that stuff. But we don't get to hear your stories. And I think that's not right. Because you are the guys who should be inspiring the next generation. Sure, you inspire your son, but there are hundreds of people like your son who need this inspiration. I think part of the problem is you're too humble. You don't feel the need, boss, I have done whatever I've done, and you're willing to acknowledge it. And I think that's the one thing which bothers me, is that we need more Indian success stories from people like you who've done things organically, ethically, sustainably, because that's what the hope for the future is. That's it.
Your point is well taken. Yeah, definitely. We'll take care.
Okay, thank you. So we'll just take a quick 10-minute break while the band sets up. We'll get the real rock stars off the stage now and get the other ones to perform. Please, the bar's open.
Manish.
Please
Thank
enjoy
you.
yourself.
Thank you, Manish. Thank you for giving this opportunity to interact with all. And thank you guys for really listening us with all patience. Huh? Thank you.